Welcome to another Thursday evening live stream, everybody. Bitcoin continues to be volatile, which is absolutely amazing for actual traders who don't have a preference on direction. Of course, if you only want to see the price go straight up, then these times are probably incredibly stressful and damn right frightening. And to be honest, I personally think we've only seen a teaser for the volatility that's about to come. This is going to be, again, a bit of a eye-opener, a video that a lot of people don't want to see, right? The Bitcoin chart nobody wants to see when I started talking about this bearish move. Yeah, you know what? This move could end at any time. But just the way I'm seeing it, the signal that I've been pointing out for weeks now, this move would be by far the smallest that I've ever seen this signal give as far as a macro time frame. But that being said, you guys, we have came back to my first target, right? I mean, for quite a while, I was eyeing up this little support box here, and we basically wicked to it. I was quite clear about this as well, that it is my first target. I personally think that it's very obvious that we were going to get a bounce there, right? I mean, that's a weekly level. It's one of the only consolidations we saw in the weekly. There's far and few between when you really zoom out like this on a market cycle. And so it was very obvious that we'd get some sort of a reaction there. But I don't see, there's so many people, especially if you follow crypto Twitter and stuff like that. So many people are celebrating that this is the bottom, that we bottomed, it's straight to 100K from here. And you know what? They could absolutely be right, but there's zero confirmations about that. You cannot convince me that this chart is bullish. You just can't. Here's where we lost our higher low structure. I know I point this out every week lately, but then we even got that STUBER fib pullback. Now, guys, this is something, if you haven't been through a full market cycle yet, or, if this is just if this is your first, even maybe your second, it's really hard to ignore the numbers on the side. And when you start to see these numbers, it always seems like, oh, that's way too far away. Like, that number seems absolutely ridiculous. But quite honestly, if this was any other chart, I know I say this all the time, if this was any other chart at all, this is my favorite short setup. You guys know I post them several times a day in the Discord, that I post these STUBER fibs. You guys are posting these STUBER fibs. Structure break followed by that pullback to the 786, 886. If anything, longer time frames act more predictable than short time frames. It's way easier to manipulate a short time frame like a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart. And if we're taking this exact setup as, we're willing to throw a high leverage trades on that on a short time frame, how can you totally ignore this on a weekly time frame? There's so much momentum here. It's such a momentum shift to break that structure and get that perfect retest. And again, this RSI divergence to go with it. It's not just any bearish divergence, it's straight from way overextended, which normally in a bullish market, don't get me wrong, it's the relative strength index. It's showing strength. So in a bull market, yes, when the RSI is up here, it's actually showing a lot of strength, not necessarily overbought. However, with that divergence, all this means basically, just to explain it very simply, is we were basically trading at the same level, right? We were basically trading at all-time highs. Yes, very slightly lower, basically the same level. And we have a drastic change in the amount of buying pressure. That's what this is showing. It's not necessarily just that it's going down. It's that how significantly lower the buying pressure got at the exact same price. People with hundreds of thousands of followers are, screaming from the rooftops that, hey, we're going to all-time highs. This is it. You see all those tweets. We are going so much fucking higher. And we see these types of signals in the charts. This is what we go over every week. This is what we're always talking about in the Discord, you guys. I know it always feels like this market cycle's different. There's bigger players in the space and all that sort of thing. Every single market cycle feels different. I promise you. I've been through more than one. Every cycle feels different. There's always bigger players in the game. If there wasn't, you would never have your next bull market. It always takes a new wall of money coming into the space to push the market just to remain similar, right? I mean, yes, people love to throw out the whole, oh, you know, there's so much more money coming into the space that there's going to be a big super cycle and all this kind of shit. The type of cycle we've never seen before. No, that's absolute garbage, you guys. It takes so much more money to move the price. I mean, for one, there's more coins in circulation. Yes, the mining is reducing how fast they're being produced, but they are still being produced, right? So there is more coins in the market every single cycle. It takes significantly more money to push the price. There's also extremely high leverage trading. That goes for selling pressure and buying pressure. So the market's always changing. It always feels different, but at the end of the day, you need that change to even make the market act similar to how it has in previous market cycles. So yes, it would be weird. You know, I'm not saying this is necessarily the end of the market cycle. I want to make that clear. All I've been saying this entire time is there was a bearish change in structure, and to totally ignore it would be foolish. And to be honest, I've done quite well on this drop. The account that I've been trading on the most recently, since calling this about a month ago, Bitcoin's gone down, what is it, like 20%? I think Bitcoin's down around 20% and my account is up about 85%. So, you know, a lot of people are so scared of downside volatility, but I don't know, I absolutely love it. As long as you can read the market for what it is and set your gut feelings aside and let the charts do the talking, you're gonna do fine, right? It's hard to do. It's hard to avoid those echo chambers. I've been talking in the Discord to you guys about the fact that I've actually been losing followers on Twitter, and I've been absolutely nailing everything I've been saying. And this is not to pump my own tires. I'm just saying I have been very accurate with these bearish predictions for the last month, and yet people don't want to hear it. So it just goes to show how emotional the average trader in the space is and why people are going to be so blindsided. I see mental health on rapid decline as the price is going down. Realistically, you guys, I know I've gone over this once or twice, and again, I don't want to say this is probable, but I think it's absolutely possible. What's one of the kind of targets I'm about to talk to you about, and a lot of you guys already know where I'm going with this. But how I would typically play this, if this was, again, pretend the numbers on the right hand side are not here. Let's just straight up look at market structure. If I was playing this Stuber setup on any other time frame, I would be looking for it to push to the opposite Stuber fib. Where did this run start? I mean, all the way back there. Our Stuber fib on the opposite end would be way down here. And I know that seems ridiculous right now, you guys. But again, pretend this isn't the weekly chart. Pretend this is a 5-minute chart. Now, I ask you this. How many times have you guys seen me post something like this where, hey, we got a structure break. Here's our high. Here's our higher high. Where am I pulling my fib from? That is where I'm looking for a long entry, right? So, I mean, again, just because it's a weekly chart does not mean that it doesn't have to play out, right? Well, obviously it doesn't have to, but I just think it's to think that we've bottomed right now with no confirmations whatsoever. In fact, the only confirmation we've gotten recently was on Sunday. We had a weekly candle body close below even this wick. I mean, realistically, the fact that we closed below these candle bodies was bearish enough. I mean, that was a massive candle close. Nothing about that looks bullish, but even closing below the wick, come on. Like, how can people even claim that the bottom is in with that kind of confirmation? It's absolutely crazy how, you know, this structure broke. When did we break this structure? That was actually in April. The week of April 8th, we broke structure bearishly. So we actually had a good warning several months ago. I caught it late, but I did catch it right in here, and which is fine because if anything, I just skipped the FOMO of playing this break, and I actually got that retest. Hey, now we're back at those Stuber fibs on a macro time frame. Time to flip extremely bearish again, right? So that actually worked out in my favor. But yeah, just looking at this chart, I mean, the thing is too, all Bitcoin has to do to shut me up is invalidate my theory because, and I don't, here's the thing, just because I'm bearish doesn't mean that, hey, if we go up, Stu's getting wrecked. I want to be clear about this. I only sold between 10 and 15% of my portfolio as far as my spot goes. I sold a bunch of meme coins because they're highest risk. I sold a little bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, but I still hold most of it. But I'm more so looking at it as a trade. I'm more so looking at that shorting opportunity, right? With shorting, I've been outperforming the loss that my spot positions are taking. So, all I'm saying is that there's potential for a lot of downside. I'm not bearish on crypto as a whole. I just understand how chart structure works, and I know that if I saw a perfect, beautiful STUBER setup on a massive time frame like this, and I just completely ignored it, even though it's my exact favorite pattern with RSI and everything, I would be pretty upset with myself had I not done any sort of a mental shift after all of these red flags here. And you know what, just to show you that, yes, in this case, this is the weekly chart, but I posted about this last night on Twitter. This is my favorite setup to short on any time frame. I'm currently in one on the 1 minute from 58.3K, currently in one on the 1 hour from 63.5K, but I'm supposed to say that this weekly Bitcoin chart is bullish. So here's the 1 minute chart, the trade setup that I took last night. Again, we hit that STUBER fib on the opposite end. We actually went significantly lower. On the 1 hour, this is the one that I'm still in 10% of this position. The exact same signal. We blew through that STUBER fib, so even further. Then we have this on the weekly chart. It's the exact same signal, you guys. So I think I've beat that dead horse enough. I think you guys understand at this point why I just can't be bullish on the market right now. But again, happy to be invalidated. One thing that I can give the bulls, I will give them this, that on the 4 hour, we technically did break above this level here. Let me just remove some indicators here. I will keep that one. So basically, as far as looking at this downtrend, I was looking at this as a low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So candle bodies, basically where this yellow line is here. In all fairness to the bulls, we did get above that. So at this point, I figure best case scenario for Bitcoin is it would come and retest some sort of a STUBER fib like so. I think this would actually be the best thing that Bitcoin could do. It's kind of something like that, right? Even if that happens, I truly believe that we're going to see some sort of a rejection just because we have such a strong downtrend here, right? I mean, just looking at this indicator, just lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And quite often when I'm pulling fibs is that I will look at these pivot points as well. Just a very nice, easy way to spot some STUBERs. Yes, they're going to be invalidated sometimes, but just pulling a fib like this, I strongly believe that if we do get some sort of a bounce and take off to the upside, I think we're going to face some very serious resistance. There's the chance that we would end up testing, let's say, the macro. Actually, this is very best case scenario for Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned. Is since we lost this low, lower low, we could now see a little bit lower of a STUBER fib. And you know what? A lot of people would start getting mega bullish if we start trading back up to that 68, 70,000. But the thing to remember is, yes, as you test a resistance level, generally it gets weaker. That's where a lot of people will flip extremely bullish and start FOMOing into that level because we've tested that level a few times. The difference is how you test that level. If you're just bouncing in a range, just kind of like back and forth, something like that, and tapping away at resistance, that's totally different than losing structure and then retesting resistance, right? I would actually be very, very bearish when we get up to those levels if it is to happen. But I don't really think that Bitcoin's going to have the strength to get up there in all honesty, but just something to watch for if we do end up having that bounce, right? But yeah, like I was saying, as far as the 4 hour, I would be looking at something like this if we do get a bounce. Honestly, right now to me, it's looking weak as hell. Even after we ended up getting this close above that lower high resistance, we just ended up getting rejected there, a bit of a swing fail, right? I mean, Kieran talks about these all the time. We just see that little bit of a fake out, harsh rejection. I mean, just nothing about this looks bullish to me. I can bring up some more indicators here. You know what? Let's bring them all up. Yeah, let's start with these two. So trend dynamic indicator, the one that's absolutely beautiful, and with all these round W reversal warnings, right? A lot of you guys are well aware that I love using these reversal warnings, not as individual signals. I don't take them all that serious on their own, but focusing on which way they're trending. I mean, we just have such an obvious trend of lower low W's here, and as well lower high, right? We had this high here, and we just set a lower high W here. So invalidating that signal would basically be where these trending from? If we got above here, that would invalidate that lower high as well as that reversal warning. But as it looks, we just set a lower one, kind of double toppy here. We say we're kind of testing this sell signal again with the trend collection indicator. And again, that indicator, I treat that very similar, is more so than each individual signal. And don't get me wrong, it has very nice signals a lot of the time, but more so just using these signals to point out which way the trend is going. I mean, we have a buy signal here, we have a buy signal here, but it's a lower buy signal, so I'm not giving it all too much credit. This, on the other hand, a sell signal and a lower sell signal, absolutely, I'm taking that serious, especially lower sell signals, lower W's, just an obvious downtrend, right? Just going back to pulling fibs from pivot points. Right here, had a beautiful call as far as the reversal goes. Pulling a fib, looking for some sort of a double top because we had this higher high signal here. Obviously never got invalidated. Entering at the Stuber fibs, absolutely beautiful. And here, to go with that as confluence, we had these W's start trending to the downside. Here, lower high, fib retest, sell signal coming into play. I mean, this trend has been very obvious, and so many people are I know in a bull market, it's really hard to pump the brakes on your bullish bias, and it always feels like they're going to go further. But the thing is, we've had the indicators kind of lining up with the structure. Just everything is lining up to the downside, and unfortunately, a lot of people are losing a lot of money in this market because they listen to the wrong people. They have people telling them it's bullish when it's clearly not. Let's bring up the liquidations indicator as well. So often, so this is the liquidation bands, and these yellow, browny, orangey lines here, that's the high leverage in the market. So that's liquidations of like kind of that 50 to 100x. And I actually made a video about this the other day and saying that even if we end up breaking this lower high here and breaking out of that sell trend, that I was going to be watching this indicator as just a fake out, right? That's kind of what this indicator is great for, is showing a little bit of wiggle room for some sort of fake out, because the big players are going to be looking at grabbing retail liquidity, right? You hear it mentioned all the time, a liquidity grab. That's what this indicator is showing. And look at that. We wicked right to the main one on that pump today during the FOMC or whatever CPI, whatever meetings were going on today. We wicked perfectly to that liquidation level and then reversed. So just absolutely beautiful. As we trend down, I mean, that's where the liquidity grabs are going to be, right? When we go, if we do push to the upside, that's where liquidity is for the bigger players that are playing the trend right now, right? So just absolutely beautiful to see these indicators lining up on the 4 hour like this, just really giving me more confirmations that I'm correct about the weekly chart, because, if anything, like, I can't be bullish on the longer time frames when the 4 hour chart can't even break out. That's all it comes down to. Yeah, everybody wants to catch a reversal, but realistically, even if a reversal happens, like, rather than just screaming that the bottom is in for absolutely no reason when we were finding support down here, at least I'll give this, now that we broke that structure, like I said, if we pull back to this fib, something like this, I can at least entertain the idea that something bullish happened. As it stands right now, it honestly, I don't feel any bullishness towards this move that we had right now. Even, was it last weekend actually? I had mentioned, how did I have it set up? I had these off, and I believe I had it something like this. And as we were trading right here, I know a lot of people were starting to flip bullish again, and I basically said, we haven't even broken this lower high on the 4-hour. In fact, we're trading right into resistance, and the indicator is backing that up. Right in the middle of that resistance box was the sell signal on the 4-hour. So absolutely beautiful to see all that kind of confluence. And even now with that little breakout, like I said, grab some liquidity. That's all I'm really seeing. One other thing I will consider slightly, that I like to play on shorter time frames quite often, is if we see the price drop to basically this, it's kind of like, I'm going to consider it the stop loss area of that trend collection indicator. Of course, wiggle room is required because sometimes it gets wicked to or whatever. But what I'll do sometimes is if the price comes to that level and kind of tests it, but it's holding it as support, then I'll take, a reversal trade off that kind of a thing. Just because my invalidation would be so tight then, right? Like if the candles came down and kind of did one of those, well, then your invalidation is, just below wherever the fake out was, kind of a thing. So I will say that maybe we get some sort of support around this level here, but like I said, I just can't be bullish on, the weekly chart, the daily chart, not even the 4-hour chart. It's just hard for me to say that a magical reversal's around the corner, That being said, obviously this is not an attack on anybody. I'm just showing the charts for what I'm seeing them as. I am so far from emotionally attached to this market right now, and that goes for either direction, right? Like if we start bouncing and breaking structure to the upside, I'm just going to start trading to the upside then. I really don't have a preference. I just have a preference of shorting right now because I see what's happening on a larger time frame. So it just makes sense that I can, even though I'm treating most of my trades as a scalp, at least the first half, and then I'm hoping to catch a runner with the other half, right? And honestly, I just feel like there's a way better chance of that happening to the downside in the next few weeks, where I really think that something big is around the corner. And I think a lot of people are going to be blindsided. If we were, let's just pretend that, okay, we did technically come to this nice support level. Again, that was my first target. As far as the macro goes, we hit my first target. We could absolutely moon from here. I don't see a lot of strength in this bounce. Even if actually, this is logarithmic, so it'll look a little bit weird. So let's even just hop over to the 1 hour. I just can't say this looks like a strong rally. I just can't. I think back to when other market cycles had their final flushes, and it was more something like this, and then breaking above resistance and doing, something like that and recovering very quickly. To just bounce into resistance and then respect it as resistance, I just can't be bullish on that. I'm sorry. How do you all feel about the market right now? I am very curious to hear everyone's thoughts, because I also want people to challenge my ideas, my bias, because I'm not looking for an echo chamber. I am in more than one VIP group. I see how a lot of professional traders trade, and I respect a lot of traders out there. I will never blindly take one of their trades, no matter how good of traders they are. If they're significantly better than me, I'm still not going to blindly take it unless I see what they're talking about. So I am very far from, looking for you guys to back up my opinion. Whenever I enter a trade, especially on like the 1 minute or anything, as soon as I enter a position, I am looking for reasons to get out. I am not looking for reasons to double down, triple down, that kind of thing. Unless market structure has changed enough that I can still keep my stop loss and a nice profit and I'm taking profits along the way. Yeah, like I said, I will add into positions in and out and that kind of a thing. But as far as needing confirmation bias and stuff, I'm in and out of trades all the time, you guys. I'm on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. I don't care which way the market's going. I can find a new trade within the next hour. Quite often, not all the time, obviously, because I'm not just gonna. You can't always just pick, hey, right now we're going this direction. You still need proper confirmations, but there's a good chance that throughout the course of a day, I never feel like, hey, I missed that one trade. I'm not gonna be able to get a trade now because I missed it. Because I understand how structure works, and I have no problem chasing a trend because I have proper invalidation levels. I understand what high or low structure is if it's an uptrend. I understand what higher low on the upside, lower high on the downside. I understand market structure enough that I can still find entries late and catch a trend halfway into it. That's no problem. That's not something that I struggle with. So I really don't care which way this market goes. I'm happy to trade it either way. And a lot of people, especially on social media like crypto Twitter and stuff like that, a lot of people consider themselves traders, but anybody can hold through a bull market and make money. But where you see who real traders are people who can trade the downside as well. I personally can't wait. I hope this is the start of a bear market. I honestly wouldn't care. Even though I hold most of my spot, I think trading the downside is so fun. I actually, when I started trading, I know I've told some of you guys this before, I started trading crypto right here. So I know all about FOMOing in late and that kind of thing, okay? Like, I think it was 3 days before our 20K top where I started getting into crypto, but I learned how to trade in a bear market, and I think that's, that's a good skill to have, right? So, yeah, I don't care which way we go. If anything, downside volatility is always faster and more aggressive. I love trading shorts, and it probably sounds weird to a lot of you guys because for the last 2 years that I've been streaming in this group, basically since I think over here, I've basically been a moon boy this entire time. I remember a lot of people challenging my theories that, when I thought we had bottomed. A lot of people thought it was ridiculous that I was aiming for 48K. We actually went significantly past that. So now this is basically the opposite feeling that I have on the market. I just think there's a way bigger move coming than people are willing to accept. And if this was any other time frame, I'd be looking for that opposite STUBER fib. Gonna have to see what happens. Again, all it takes is for structure to change, and I'll change my tune. I am by no means married to this idea. I just have not been disproven yet. Yeah, Cause gets it. Loving the shorts lately. Proper degenet. I love it. Mucho respect. Yeah, let's hop over to... Why am I on the 1 hour? Why are you guys letting me do this? Let's get back to the 1 minute here. Yeah, as far as the immediate trend goes, I'd have a STUBER pulled maybe something like this. I could see us getting back up to these levels relatively soon just because, as far as this, this immediate trend here goes, here would be our last low, lower low, lower high. So that's why I'm pulling my fib like that. Again, there is the chance that it is this slightly bigger range just because, technically this is our low, lower low, lower high. So I should probably actually have it pulled something like this. Let's actually make a couple boxes. I think there's a chance that we see these levels and, you know, actually face resistance. But I do think there'll be stronger resistance up here. And now we wait. Come on, Stu 3 min. Nope. Straight to the 1. Let's go. That way we can see more happening. It's way more exciting, right? We could really microanalyze things and say that this is the last time that we lost a lower high or reclaimed it. So now, as far as just this immediate swing here, that would be our high or low. If we close above this one, then I'll actually bump that up a little bit. And that's another way we can start looking for reversals, right? Just like on the weekly chart, I'm basically just chasing the price as we go up, right? Yes, again, this is very micro analyzing, but really breaking down structure. Here was our high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Let's bump it up. You've got to bump it up. So yeah, just basically chasing the trend like that. And again, that's why I really am never too worried about missing a trade and being able to find one later, because I can really get in there and see what is happening in the structure. A lot of people would think that this is absolutely ridiculous, but when you really start to watch it and watch how market structure works, that's basically how it rolls. So that's where, like, if we lose this level, we're actually closing candle bodies below this high here. That's where you can start looking for a new smaller fib, right? The only thing that I will mention about something like this, like let's say we lose this structure and we end up, so let's just say we go down like this, end up closing, coming back like this, and let's say, hey, you know what, that's a good level to end up taking a short because it's a STUBER fib. Understand that your TP1 is right here and your TP2 is right here. So it's not always necessarily worth it. If you're okay understanding that you're playing a small range, just understand it is what it is, right? That's the kind of thing where, hey, maybe I'm okay just not playing that range and looking for a runner right out the hop, just having your stop loss invalidation up here. Just understand it's very likely that you come down to these levels and then bounce and get stopped out, but it's all a part of what your risk tolerance is, right? Because anytime I take a trade, and what Stuber Fibs has really done for me as far as, you know, structured trade setups, is it really helps you focus on, hey, play the range that I'm actually playing, right? If I'm taking an entry up here in this range, then I'm taking profits in that range, right? So that's where, obviously, if you're playing them on a bigger scale, then yes, it's going to be bigger moves that you're looking for. Like right now, like I said, technically this is our low, so our lower high is actually up here. That's where if we end up, we actually end up pumping and breaking that structure. We start closing candle bodies up here and actually breaking that structure. That's where I would more so consider a Stuber entry on here. Actually, let me put that back up there. Let's just say we get up to there. That's where I'd be looking from, hey, here was our lower low. We broke that trend. Where are we going to pull back to? There's a very good possibility that we pull back to that fib, right? And that's when everyone starts losing faith, and they're going to think, oh, yeah, we have no strength. That's it. We're going to nuke, and people start shorting right into support, when in all reality, we just broke structure and did a classic Stuber fib pullback. So very helpful as far as waiting for proper entries with tight stop losses, tight invalidations. rather than just FOMOing into a position late, right? I mean, if we break above this resistance and you FOMO into a long here because, hey, resistance broke, this is great, invalidation's way down here, right? Yeah, so we did technically drop that line. So let's see if we let's see if we get that pullback. Actually, I'm curious. See if this actually holds up. Obviously, it's not going to all the time either, right? But it's where you weigh out your odds. No trade strategy is going to be perfect, but yeah, that's just the loss of structure. It could obviously reclaim it again. Because again, as far as the bigger range goes, actually, technically, like this Stuber almost played out. It never quite got to it, but TP1 and TP2 would be just down here. So, I mean, it's such a tight range, right? So it's still very possible that we end up getting up here. But let's see what this says. Right, we lost that structure. So that kind of makes sense how I'm explaining structure, you guys. I know we're obviously taught to trade longer time frames and stuff like that. I am more of a degenerate. I do like the micro analyzing and that sort of thing. I like the get in, get out of the market type of thing. So like I know a lot of people want to see the actual, you know, structure points and stuff like that. So obviously that's why I'm talking about those as well, because those are more so the proper move. But just really micro analyzing each individual leg up, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I am going to throw up that Stuber fib just out of curiosity. I am not playing this, let me be clear about that. I also think another reason why this has room to go to the upside to the bigger fib pull would be the RSI still has room to the upside. No crazy RSI divergence or anything like that, so we'll see. Still thinking we come up here. It's trying though. Oh boy. Seeing a bit of weakness there. It's so accurate, fibs in general, 100%. Fibs are one of my favorite things to trade with just because they're so structured. There's you know, as long as you have your own strategies for pulling them and stuff like that, like, you know, there's plenty of times, for example, that the 786 or the 886 fibs get respected and people think they're looking at a Stuber fib, for example. I'm like, actually, you know, I also require a structure break and then that pullback. So if it's just like, you know, there's just the price bounces into a lower high, for example, and there's not necessarily or actually, no, that's not a good example. Basically, I need that structure break and then look for that pullback, because with that structure break, something that is important with that is that means if the trend is going to continue because of that structure break, then you're getting a very good entry, and that's where you're more so looking for that position to run a little bit longer, right? Rather than just looking at playing the range, there's a bigger possibility after that structure break and then the pullback there's a bigger chance that it's going to actually break out. The fact that these candle bodies have actually closed above these candle bodies as well, just another little bit of strength that makes me, like, typically, or not typically, makes me not want to enter a position based on that. Like, I'm not going to add to my current short position based on that or anything. Whereas if we start struggling in this red box, for example, I'll consider adding to my position, bring down my average entry a little bit. I'll still want my stop loss to be in a profit, so I won't add too much if that does happen. But if we start seeing reversal warnings and stuff like that in there, I'd absolutely consider adding a little bit. Notice on the 1 minute with the trend collection indicator, we do have a buy signal, but what did I talk about earlier? I'm not giving it too much credit because it's a lower buy signal. Yeah, absolutely, it could play out. There's just a little bit of a warning there for me. Not desperate to take any positions, right? Gotta look at the pros and the cons, right? What about auto charting? We do have that lower low. Liquidations. What do we have here? We do have some liquidations above, so I mean, maybe we do end up pumping and grab some of that once again, but we'll have to see. 4 hour, yeah. Again, it's crazy how the market just gets drawn to those liquidity levels. Hey, like, we basically wicked right up to that level. Actually, technically got front run very slightly, but obviously right into the liquidity pocket. Just beautiful. Anyone else in any positions, longs or shorts? Because that's the thing too, you guys, right? Although I'm very bearish, everyone trades the market completely different. I know, generally speaking, I used to trade the bullish price action a lot better than bearish price action, but I don't know. Now I'm comfortable either way just because I've improved my trading over the years. So I don't really have a preference anymore, but I know a lot of people do. So sometimes it's hard to set your emotions aside one direction or the other. So, like, you know, if there is nothing saying that you can't be long in this market and making money as well, right? That can absolutely be a thing. So I want to make that clear. I'm not shitting on people who are just longing. I'm only shitting on the people who are claiming that there's absolutely zero reasons to be concerned about the health of Bitcoin right now, and saying that we're going to all-time highs right away and beyond based off zero technical analysis. So yeah, actually, technically, this STUBER setup would have played out, right? We lost that low, that higher low, end up getting our pullback. And TP1, boom, there's TP2. Again, obviously a small range, but that's the setup. I always have my stop loss looser than the 115. I mentioned that every video as well. That's just kind of a ballpark. So often the price does wick right to that 115 and get rejected. So I always leave some wiggle room myself, especially if there's like any nearby structure, liquidity level, let's say an indicator showing resistance, anything like that. I more so, it's just to remind myself to leave some wiggle room, basically. So yeah, this absolutely played out as far as a micro-analyzed range play. I still think we see a little bit higher, but the range did play out. Short setups have been much easier, or much cleaner and easier to spot for you the last few weeks. Yeah, me too. I've played a few longs. There was that one on the 4 hour that I had mentioned, and again, this was not a STUBER fib setup, but there was the 786 fib touch. So I was absolutely expecting that little bit of a reaction rally. Everybody got super bullish on the way up naturally, because in crypto, if you go up for 2 hours, even after you've dumped 25%, that means the bear market's over. Or not even the bear market, that just means the selling is done for some reason. You can trade down for 4 weeks straight, but as soon as you trade up for 2 hours, the bear runs over. That's a reversal for some reason. So again, careful who you follow. Yeah, got a couple people short in. Um, yeah, I know I've mentioned to the group a few times that so basically I almost never close an entire position, right? There's so many times you'll see people say, oh, I closed my position too early. That's talking about that hourly trade setup that I took from 63.5 and why I still have 10% of it open, right? It's not a big position anymore, but it is still running, and it is still there, knowing that, hey, if the market dumps, I'm going to make more money. Great. I've been taking profits along the way, obviously, but I never did close the whole thing, because I would have closed it way too early, right? If I just hit basically TP2 or whatever, or closed it all at the 786, then I would have closed it at like 59K, but I was still taking profits on it down at like 54, even closer to 53K, is where I closed most of the remainder of that position. But I never would have got that massive move. I mean, that was another $6,000 to the downside, just because I left a bunch of the position running, right? I like to take profits on the way. And same with on entries, right? I'm more so into the idea of laddering in and out of positions. It just helps keep the emotions at bay, because then, hey, if all of a sudden, oh no, I closed my position too early, then you're FOMOing into that same position, but then all of a sudden you're tightening up your stop loss too soon. You just totally screw over how you're looking at the market on a shorter time frame. Emotions start to run wild. You get in a downward spiral of revenge trading. I mean, it can happen, and leaving part of your position open can definitely help fight that. And if you just, let's say, oh, I want to open another position here, but I can't because I'm already in a position. I mean, I have several accounts for that reason. I have several accounts on several different exchanges. Just so I'm ready. For example, again, being in this short position from my 1 hour trade setup, I didn't want to ruin that entry. So I just started trading on my other account. Anytime I need to take a short, I'm trading on my other account. But yeah, I think I have 3 main trading accounts right now. Um, yeah, I'm not so sure if we are going to get to the top of this range. Looking weak, we do still have this buy signal trying to push us to the upside, but it is, again, it's a lower buy signal. W's still trending to the downside. When I speak about W's trending in a direction, guys, also I want to make this clear: the W's with the circle are a different indicator than the W with the cross. The cross ones are on the trend collection indicator, and the round ones are the trend dynamic indicator. Actually, I believe there's a new trend collection update. I haven't updated mine yet, so I apologize for that, but I am going to have to check it out a little later. But yeah, I just cannot say I'm overly bullish on this market, you guys. If you haven't got that got that feeling yet. Let me make it quite clear. I'm bearish until proven otherwise. Yeah, this I gotta go back to this, you guys, on the weekly chart. Yes, we've dumped 25%, and it feels like that's a massive move to the downside because we haven't seen that this market cycle yet. Or did we see that back here, actually? Yeah, very close. The difference is the structure back here. The RSI just looked nothing like what it does right now, and that's a big reason of why I'm saying that I think this is a little bit more serious of a correction, is just because of that exact RSI divergence. The one good thing about this, you guys, is it does look like the RSI is dropping off quite quickly. So, you know, when we start getting towards these levels, absolutely I'm going to consider the possibility that, hey, this might be overextended at that point. But as it stands right now, the RSI is kind of in the middle of nowhere. So there's absolutely still room to the downside. There's nothing saying that this is oversold yet. But yeah, previous times we had these signals. I mean, last market cycle, we actually got this exact signal twice. We have the structure break, and we have the RSI overextended divergence on both of them. First time it was a 50% correction very quickly, and the next time actually started our bear market. Time before that we saw it, we ended up getting the COVID dump. Technically it was predicted way before that. Several months before that, we had that structure break, we had that RSI divergence. Time before that, our 20K top, we had a structure break here, we had that RSI overextended divergence, and 77% correction to the downside. So it's absolutely possible we only dropped 25% this time. I just think it would be weird, to be honest. Reaction of daily opens. Oh yeah, daily open just happened 6 minutes ago. Hey, as far as seeing what's going to happen with the daily open from like the auto charting tools, I like to let the price kind of get away from it a little bit first and then find out where it's going to retest. But yeah, I love how volatile the market gets at daily open. Maybe this will help push us up into these levels. Come on, Asia. Pump us just so we can shut it back down. Maybe this yellow box will be the resistance if we get up there. I know, like, the bigger range, yes, there's still the red box here. So, and obviously this is a 1 minute range. So it's like between this yellow box and this red box, it's still very close price action, or price levels rather. But yeah, this yellow box, because that was pulled from here, which technically, yes, that is basically, well, basically our lower low. This was our previous low, so highest point between the two would be there. So that's pulling a fib there. Yeah, that yellow box, like I said. But just understand, there's potential we go to the red one. Depends which range is going to play out here. I don't think I'm going to add to my position yet. I think the only way I'll add to my position right now, so like being that we're not all too far away from my entry at this point, I would want to see that same overextended bearish RSI divergence going with basically a lower high type of a thing, double top, something like that. In that case, I would actually consider heavily adding to my position, but don't have that yet. So got very close to that box. No doubt about that. It's hard to say if I would have hit that entry if I was really seeking a position, because I always do front run my fibs a little bit with entries and take profits, but it's very hard to say if I would have caught that or not. It would have been like right at the top had I, but again, I never did take that position or anything like that. That's just more so a typical setup. But it looks like it's, yeah, hammering down towards that TP2. Sometimes I like to analyze the RSI as well, looking for, this is something that I just noticed at a quick eyeball here, is that we totally lost a trend line on the RSI. And as well, on top of losing that, you can see that we also broke structure as far as like lower low, lower high, right? Here we had our lows. We set a lower low. Where did we come up to? This would be our lower high. Look where it got rejected. So it's kind of funny that you can also look for those confirmations on indicators like that. I still love the RSI. That's the only indicator I use outside of the MDX Trendmaster indicators. I still like the RSI, but again, it's mostly for that exact divergence that I keep pointing out on the weekly, the hourly, and that sort of thing. The reason I'm so bearish on this, you guys, is because when I first started taking trading quite seriously, this is a pattern that I back tested a lot. I think it was something like, I know it was the 4 hour and the daily chart. I think I back tested 2 or 3 years worth of charts, looking for where that setup has played out, and it was something like a 87%. It was the signal of a reversal. So there's a reason more than a gut feeling why I'm so bearish right now, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, there's absolutely 80% successful on that chart pattern means that 13% of the time it's wrong. So it does happen, but that's what invalidation levels are for. And that's why I always say too that reacting is significantly more important than predicting when it comes to trading. Like, I already know that people who are upset that I'm posting bearishly on Twitter, if all of a sudden we flip bullish, I know I'm going to take some flack for that, and it doesn't mean I got wrecked. I'll probably be in a long position because, again, I have no problems looking at structure and changing my bias. Predicting is great because then you're ready to react, but if you can just see the chart for what it is, and some people react quicker than others. Like, I can basically pick up my phone, for example, if I'm on the go. Generally speaking, I can take a look at a chart, and within 20 seconds I know if I want to be entering a position soon or not. And if I decide that I do want to take said position, that I can be in that in less than 30 seconds. Because if you're trying to trade something like a minute chart, if you're the type of person who has to consider a bunch of things, you're just not quite sure, there's not a lot of confidence there yet, and you're going to take a couple minutes to decide, and then let's say it takes a minute or two to set your orders and your stop losses and stuff, there's a chance that position is totally gone. There's a chance it has already come and gone. It's a 1 minute chart. You're not looking for a home run trade off a 1 minute, right? So that's where trading the longer time frames is better for honestly most people, but specifically while you're learning. You just have so much more time to gather your thoughts. I've even gone as low as trying to play the 5 second and 15 second, and honestly it's too fast for me. I just couldn't keep up mentally. As much as a degen as I am, the 1 minute is kind of where I feel comfortable that I can react quick enough to play the setups that I see. 5 minute is probably my favorite time frame to trade, but I really like zooming into the 1 minute as well. RSI over CVD. What CVD? Oh, like these, the 70 and the 30, for example. Anywhere beyond those is where I'm considering it overextended. However, again, in a bullish trend, just because the RSI is up here does not mean it's overbought, right? It's only when that divergence happens, like, you know, RSI comes up here and then does something like that at a double top level, and there's just such an obvious level that there was a drastic change in buying pressure at the same level. That's where I'm taking it very serious. But the RSI, just wherever it lies at the time on its own, not as important. The 3 minute, I know a lot of people who play the 3 minute. That's a good one too, and it actually seems to react quite well. Anytime I've watched the 3 minute, I like trading the 1 minute. Or the 3 minute. I honestly forget about it quite often. But yeah, I like the 3 minute as well. Serious degen shit going on. See what the indicators are saying on a few of these time frames. So this is the 5 minute. We still have a sell trend, obviously. It was a higher sell, but it did actually get quite a bit of momentum there. Lower high, higher low. A little bit of mixed signals there. W's, there was a higher low W here, but it's really struggling to get that momentum. Again, there's just, even when there's bullish signs in the chart, it just seems like they're really struggling to survive at best. 3 minute, let's check the same indicators. Oh, we got a sell signal on the 3 minute as well. Lower high, lower high, lower sell signal. 3 minute doesn't look great. 1 minute, just a series of lower sell signals. Yeah, doesn't look great. Any time frame I look at best, it looks like the bulls are, you know, surviving. But it just doesn't look like there's a ton of strength yet. Again, I'm very happy to be invalidated. You know, we start breaking structure on the 4 hour. We start to see some of these indicators shifting directions. You know, let's say we get a higher low W, something like that. You know, then I'll at least consider the fact that, hey, there's at least some signs saying that the market may reverse a little bit. Honestly, I still feel like even if we do get a bullish reversal here, I just really don't see it lasting long. Again, best case, I see us coming up to that STUBER fib and then testing new lows. We'll see what happens, obviously. I don't care either way, but that's just kind of what I'm seeing. Oh, there was this. I did want to bring this up as well. On the weekly chart, there is technically this buy trend, but I mean, look how great that signal was already. I mean, it did call 180% move to the upside. So at this point, that signal doesn't owe us anything. It played out beautifully. So again, just with that lower buy pressure, it just kind of looks like, I don't know if it's going to hold on for much longer, you know? Anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. Hopefully you guys found this stream useful. Thank you so much for those of you who showed up and wanted to hear what I had to say. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you are interested in my favorite indicators plus access to the VIP Discord, there's an additional 10% discount on checkout using the link down below. I'm personally doing most of my trading on Blofin, a no KYC exchange. For those of you interested, I've actually maxed out the cashback on my affiliate link, so you get a 20% of your trading fees back. So just a cashback kind of thing with your trading fees. So if you need a new non-KYC exchange or just want to back up in general, check out my link down below as well. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace. All right, I am back, and I'm actually going to start recording again just to see what happens here. Just because we have a live example of a STUBER fib. Again, doesn't play out every time, but you can see the price is starting to struggle here a little bit. Nice to have a live example. So is everybody here bullish or bearish recently? I feel like there's been a lot of people quite bearish. That is one thing to consider, is that I am starting to see a lot more bearishness out there. Like, yes, there's still the perma bulls who are claiming that all-time highs are around the corner for some fucking reason, with zero proof of that. Even if they're right, there's zero proof right now. But I'm starting to see a little more bearish people coming around. What's Sato been saying lately? I saw that Capo was very bullish the other day. Saying it was going to be a very bullish summer for altcoins. I don't know about you guys, but my altcoins look like fucking trash. Yeah. All the bulls need to do to invalidate my bearish theories is break a lower high. Unfortunately, on the weekly chart, our lower high is way up here at like 72K. We basically need to close a candle at all-time highs to invalidate my bearish thesis at this point. Something that I will mention, though, is it totally depends how structure acts, right, you guys? Like here we have our low, and we obviously have a lower low now. Let's just say that we get some sort of a bounce, and then we set another lower low. At that point, we actually have a better chance of breaking lower high structure, right? I mean, it's not so much what levels the price has, and I think this is where a lot of people have issue as well, is that once they decide like this is the level I'm looking at, they don't consider how that level is approached. So let's just say, yeah, I gotta make this easier to see color. Okay, so let's just say that, you know, we lost this structure here, right? Actually, let's do it more so like this. Here, we lost this structure. So there's our bearish break, just like up here, a little red line. There's our bearish break. If we now close this candle green, for example, and then have another bearish break, we then technically have a lower high, right? At that point, and it depends if you want to use wicks or candle bodies. I just like using wicks generally. But then, however you want to look at it, whether it's that or this, basically either of those levels, I'd say even a candle body above that at that point. In that case, that would then be a trend shift, right? At that point, we would actually be breaking above that lower high structure. But as it stands right now, it's actually like if we recover right now, I'm actually more bearish than if we take another leg down and then we have some structure to break. Just as it stands right now on the weekly, yeah, basically to invalidate my theory, we need all-time highs to even invalidate my theory, right? So again, just depends how we hit those levels. Much like, you know, let's just say right now this does get invalidated. Let's say we set a new higher high and the Stuber fib gets invalidated. And then at that point, I'm going to be pulling a new fib right, looking for a long position. If I want to play a long, I'm looking for that pullback in that case. It would really depend how we're approaching that level. You know, if we just all of a sudden, you know, we don't get that resist support flip and we just absolutely nuke straight down, I mean, it's a little bit scary to try and catch that knife because there's so much momentum. Whereas if we trade down, you know, towards it something like this, then it becomes a lot more of a realistic entry, or just feels a lot safer just because of how you're approaching it, right? You're just kind of grinding towards those target levels rather than just absolutely nuking to it and through it, right? I'm actually surprised the bulls are hanging on to this as long as they are. They're actually trading in that pocket rather than just getting rejected right away. I will give them that. But resistance is resistance until it's broken, so we'll just see what happens. Really wish it had that RSI divergence with it, but can't get everything we want. The market doesn't give a fuck about our feelings. Let's put it this way. Um, I mean, obviously, you guys know I am bearish anyways, so I feel like this probably will at least hit our TP1 at the 0.5 fib there. Um, but notice that even if it doesn't play out and it does get invalidated, you can see there's an obvious reaction at this level, right? And that's something that's important to take from it as well, that you know, because like I said, not every setup is going to play out. You can have the best strategy in the world, and generally speaking, at some point, it's not going to work out. Um, but just noticing how there is this obvious reaction here just goes to show how powerful that these areas are. And again, just like that weekly signal I was pointing out with the RSI divergences and stuff, same thing, right? You just, once you start to see a certain setup, then yeah, you're just basically playing your odds at that point, right? You just understand the possibilities that, and basically whenever I enter a position, I assume it's going to lose. Yeah, I enter with good intentions of, you know, profiting on a position, and there is reasons why I take the position rather than just a gut feeling. But it's still best to understand that what's worst case scenario right now. And worst case scenario is not necessarily your stop loss, because like I was just talking to you guys about behind the scenes there, is that sometimes slippage happens. Sometimes you get liquidated for no reason. So just understand that even with a stop loss in place, you could still technically get liquidated, right? So that's why even if you have a really tight stop loss, maybe going all in with your entire account with high leverage just because you have a tight stop loss, that's not necessarily going to save you. So yeah, definitely understand anytime you're in a position, what's the worst thing that can happen right now. And that's honestly one reason why I never touch cross leverage. For one, I don't understand it that well, but from what I do understand is it can pull funds from different positions, different holdings, stuff like that. So whereas with isolated margin, at least you understand that, like, hey, how much margin's on this trade? Okay, that's the worst. That's as much as I can get liquidated for, kind of a thing. That's why I use isolated. That way I know how much leverage I'm using. I know how much margin's actually in the position. How much is actually on the line. The Bulls are trying to make a statement, but you can see there's just an obvious reaction from that level. So I really wouldn't be too surprised to see us pull back to this level, if not this level and beyond, right? I mean, that's where if I'm in a new position kind of a thing based on playing this setup, like right now I'm leaving a little more wiggle room just because I'm already in a position. My average entry is higher than this, right? So um, I'm not as worried about taking as much profits, but if this was a new position for me, I would definitely be looking at taking some profits as I go down and then hoping to catch a runner um, with the other half of my position, basically. Just keeps running right back up to that pocket, hey? I really want to wrap up this stream, but I also want to see if this is going to hit TP1 or my invalidation fib first. See what I mean? How there's an obvious reaction from this fib pocket? You see it so often. My invalidation fib is the 1.15, but again, that's just a general area. I always leave wiggle room. Looking for round numbers, other structure points, just anything nearby, but leaving a little wiggle room because so often the price will jump to the 115 and then reverse. So I definitely leave a little extra. That's just me personally. Just tapping away at that box. Yeah, hopefully you guys are able to spot these a little better as I keep showing examples in the chat and stuff. I do. Oh, there we go. I I'm hesitant to set like live 1 minute trade setups in the chat because like yeah, some of them I can point out ahead of time and stuff, but sometimes when you catch them last minute or anything, like I was talking about earlier, how if you can't set like see the position and enter your position within a minute, there's a good chance that you're going to miss the entire opportunity. So by the time that I would take a enter the position, set my stop loss and my take profits, take a screenshot, explain what I'm seeing. I mean, that's going to be damn near 5 minutes later, and that trade has basically come and gone already. And I don't want to give those types of setups where someone's going to get wrecked and be like, well, Stu, this was your setup. It's like, yeah, but I tried sending that 5 minutes ago, kind of a thing, right? But I still think it's important to show them after, just because they're great examples, right? The more you see it, the more you're going to see it. I was joking around in the chat earlier that once you see these, you can't unsee them. And I do mean that. I look at clouds. I see 786, 886 comparisons, buildings, trees, obviously charts. I don't need to lay out fibs anymore. I can see basically where they are without pulling them up. I more so do it just to show as an example, but I can pretty much eyeball where they are, right? Oh, there's our TP1 on that setup. So I guess at that point, that's basically how it works out, right? When I'm trading this strategy, I'm still looking for reasons to get out, basically. Like if anything bullish really catches my eye, some sort of a structure break before hitting my take profits. If I am babysitting it, like, yeah, there's a good chance I take profits early. But yeah, my general take profits are basically why I have these other fibs here. The reasoning for the 214, I know that's a very random Fibonacci, but that's basically the opposite 786. Usually it front runs it a little bit. Here, I'll actually show you what I mean. So I'll make a line here as where the 214 is. Oh, oops, just don't mind me here, just struggling a little bit. But let's remove those fibs so we can see where that 214 was. Now let's pull from the bottom of this range to where we've topped out, and look where the 786 lands, just below that. So just kind of the opposite and front running a little bit, because you know what, if I'm looking at making entries around the 786, 886 fib, then I think it makes sense that on the opposite end of things, I should be looking at taking profits at those levels, right? So that's kind of my reasoning for those fibs. But I mean, we could all have the exact same charts, same trend lines, same indicators, tools, and everything, and we'd trade this market completely different, right? So always make sure you do what works for you. Like back test, go back and look at charts, and make sure that, maybe you don't see the same types of setups that I see so easily, and maybe you look at them wrong for like whatever reason, right? It's just important to find out what works for you, and that's why I think everybody should do back testing, right? I was talking about that earlier, how I did that so much with that RSI divergence, double tops, double bottoms kind of a thing. Everybody should be back testing before trading real money, let's be honest, especially with leverage. You should absolutely have some sort of an understanding of what your probabilities are. But yeah, you know what? Here's a perfect example once again of why I'm so bearish on Bitcoin, right? Here we have it playing out on the 1 minute, a classic structure break, Stuber fib pullback, just like on the weekly here. And again, the level I'm looking for is basically the opposite 786, right? What do we have here? I don't care that this is a weekly chart. Structure is structure. If this was any other time frame, I'd be looking at that move down to there. Not saying that the full move plays out, but that's kind of where I'd be targeting, right? And that, unfortunately, in this case, if you want to be a permabull, is down around 28,000 US dollars, and the 886 as the next target would be closer to 22,000. So, it gets painfully real when you see charts like this. But for everything I've discussed today, there's reasons to believe that it's at least possible. Again, it does not have to happen. Not saying it's probable, but you cannot deny that it looks possible. Anyways, my friends, I think that's about where I'm going to leave you today. Glad we got to see a little STUBER fib play out live there. Not sure if any of you guys ended up taking it or not, but yeah, just nice to see a live example like that. So and here we go. Let's hit that 214. There it is. Haha, Crypto Tiger. Fuck yeah. In Stewie Trust. Yeah, nice entry right below the 786. Hey, 57,456. Yeah, just a little below the 786. Also, that's a different exchange, but yeah, beautiful, right? I mean, hopefully you're taking profits if you are still in that position, just because it did hit our range target, right? And then I'd be leaving some. I myself, anyways, I don't like closing entire positions, because just in case this thing just absolutely nukes, I want to hold on to a chunk of that. So, oh, actually, yeah, I added to my position before. I should be listening to my own advice. I gotta take a little off the table here. I'm gonna close a third of my position. Boom. And just like that, we made a little money live. Beautiful STUBER entry, though. And that's why I was talking about earlier, or was it earlier or a different stream, whatever. No, it was earlier, using these pivotal points for pulling fibs, right? That's just a perfect example. Pulled a bearish STUBER fib from the last lower high, and look how beautiful that played out. Love it. And now, obviously, we're down at support. Support is support until it's broken. But, I mean, I just can't say I'm overly bullish on this trend yet. Yeah, it's possible this is a triple bottom or whatever. Might get some sort of a divergence, but we're going to have to see what happens. It just, like I keep saying, Bitcoin looks like shit, in my opinion. So anyways, guys, that's where I'm going to leave you for real now. Thank you so much for tuning in. And stay safe out there, my friends. Peace. All right, I just can't stay away. One more quick update, guys. This is the power of that STUBER fib setup that I teach every single week in these streams and in the Discord there. That, like, see, this, there was no emotion attached to it. All we did was we looked at the charts. Yes, I had the lower high signal based off the auto charting tools, but I also showed you just how that structure works. Came back to that 786, 886, absolutely nuking from that signal. So those of you who were here live with me, congratulations. Hopefully some of you guys were able to catch it. For those of you not a part of the MDX ALGO community, again, there is a discount link down below, and it's not just myself, but there's multiple live streams a day of a handful of different coaches, all very knowledgeable traders, giving their own way of looking at things and viewing the indicators, and many more indicators, etc. So we all have our own strengths and our own strategies and stuff like that. So here is a beautiful example of it playing out live. And yeah, it was great to have you guys see my reasoning while taking this setup and absolutely nuking here. So once again, you can listen to whoever you want on Twitter. This is not financial advice. Do your own research, form your own opinions. But the people who say that there's just zero red flags, I mean, this just does not look like a bullish market. Does this look like we're hitting $100,000 soon? No, it fucking doesn't. That's clickbaity. Like I said earlier, I mean, I've actually lost followers on Twitter because I've been too real. And yes, unfortunately, posting bearishly, not everybody wants to hear it, but just look at the strength when these bearish setups do come into play. So with that, Yeah, just wanted to bring a quick update of, just because it was a live example. It was getting boring, so I had to leave. But you know what? Now it's back on here. Great to see this kind of a reaction. So yeah, just a beautiful, typical Stuber setup. And again, exactly why I'm so worried about the weekly chart, because that's the pattern basically. Actually, it is. It's the exact pattern. Except the weekly also has the bearish RSI divergence, where I didn't even have that on this setup. So just a little bit of a reminder there. So anyways, guys, I hope you found this video useful. With that, actually, make sure you smash up the likes and subscribe if you haven't, you guys. I know it's easy to forget that sort of thing, but if you appreciate these lessons coming at you and just seeing my take on the market and how I'm looking to trade this market, do me a favor, hit that like button. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.